it's funny, when I first moved here, in Kansas City, if you've got something great, you put it on, if anybody's familiar with Kansas City, you put it on Ward Parkway or in Country Club. You put it in the middle where everybody can see it. You put columns in front of it. You have lights on it, and it's like everybody sees it. One of the things I discovered, I'd been away from Rochester long enough that when you move back, I say, boy, they don't have any good restaurants. And then you discover Rooney's. It's like in some neighborhood, some resident. And then we discovered Victor Grilling Company, and it's like, of course, they're no longer in business, but it's like hidden away. And what you realize is the best things in Rochester are hidden away, whether that's homes or restaurants or anything. You really have to be here for a while to discover that, oh, gee, yeah, they do have some good stuff. It's just not where you would expect to find it. In any other city, it would be on the the main street with lights shining on it and columns and people saying, "Come on in."
But I have to tell you, there's an opportunity there, and there are two things to put on the table relative to this. One is, frankly, we blew it twice when we had the fast ferry. And how we blew it was, you could come to Rochester and not know what the heck we had, where to go, how to find it, what there was, how much of it there was, nothing, including all of our arts and cultural institutions and galleries and really amazing, Artisan Works, for example, all the ones that we know about and have talked about, but there's some real gems out there. The other thing to mention is that there's a place in North Carolina called Seagrove. And what it is it's nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere. And it's between Charlotte and Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem. And what they did, and if you go anywhere on the thruway system, the highway system in North Carolina, you will find at the information stops brochures about Seagrove. And what it is, it's a collection of longtime family ceramic potter type deals. And there may be 10 or 15 of them. All have been going back generations. They're all hidden in the countryside. You wouldn't know where the heck they are. But they've marketed the heck out of it, and people go from all over the place and spend a day just going from place to place. And it's known. Everybody knows about it. And you wonder why we haven't done something like that here. Why is it so difficult? You could say, well, but the discovery's fun. Well, that's fine, but most people drive right by and don't know it's there. And if you're talking about trying to sell the community, we have a real opportunity to package things, whether it's on a website or whether it's on billboards or whether it's brochures, I don't know, maybe all of the above. But we don't do anything to help make it easy to find the gems, and they're all over the place here.
We've had a little concrete experience, kind of similar on campus. We had an online calendar that was wretched, and it got 6,000 to 8,000 hits a month. And for the last 2 or 3 years that we actually bothered to measure, that's what it was getting. And we got a decent piece of software. It ties into our reservation system, which makes it easy to get the data. And we launched it in January, and it got 75,000 hits in January, and it got 210,000 hits in April. If all it does is facilitate your findings. So, you get on it, you can sort by types of thing that you might want to see, sports or arts or something. And then when the thing comes up, you can click on it and get all the information about the event. Wouldn't be that hard to do for the city.
Yeah. Well, you guys are all making a point around.
And David could do it for us. Right?
You do a very nice job.
You're all making a point around ease of use. Okay, what are there are 100 and something million iPods in the world right now? I have 2 of them, and a third one that I broke. Don't try to replace the battery yourself. Save yourself. But there were 1 million MP3 players on the market before the iPod came out, and there are 1 million now, and almost all of them are way better. Higher quality, more features, more flexible. You're not tied to one buyer or all this sort of thing. And the difference is ease of use. You plug it in, your music shows up. And there's a little bit of a theme here that Rochester is this wonderful, feature-rich environment full of music and exciting things to see and do, and places that over time, if you really, if you write yourself a manual, you can find your way through it, okay? And isn't it great? And then you sort of pass the manual along to your kids when they finally move back to town, okay? But if we could just make it easier to use, that might go a really long way. And that's people getting off the ferry, but it's also us driving around town. It took me, I love to eat, and it took me a long time to find Rooney's. And Tornadoes. I was there the other night. I didn't even know where it was.
We keep on finding
It was
good
unbelievable.
restaurants, but
Some great
it's like a treasure hunt. It really is.
And that's a shame, because there are so many wonderful things, and it's so hard to use this town. It's so hard to use these resources that are at our disposal, and we got to find a way to make it easier to use. Even in Boston, they have that red stripe on the ground that if you just follow that, you bump into old things, you know?
Called the Freedom Trail, yes.
You know,
And something simple like that might be a nice place to start, but.
I want to direct this question to Todd. I remember finding out, and maybe it's when maybe it was a strategic roundtable I did with the Ad Council with Genesee Country Village. But I learned that it was actually bigger than Sturbridge Village. Is that correct?
Depending on what you're measuring, yeah. I mean, in terms of the, I mean, in
It
terms
depends
of
on
the
what you
number,
mean by.
in terms of the number of historic structures
Yeah.
that are there, yes, it is.
Well,
It's one-
what I learned, it was one of the like Upper Canada Village. I mean, I've heard a lot of these, but I was surprised. I don't know when finally the signs went up on the thruway. Maybe it's been a while now, but I'm surprised that it sits there and it's just off the thruway, not too far off the thruway, that there aren't like signs that explain what Genesee Country Village is and say, come here, this is one of the biggest recreated villages of the, you know, and for a while there wasn't even signs. Is that correct? I mean, there wasn't signs.
the signs have actually been on the thruway for at least 10 years, I would say,
Okay, so
and they're
that's 'cause I
actually
was out of town.
they're actually kind of the envy of a lot of the cultural community, because the museum, Genesee Country Museum, is one of the only places in the Greater Rochester area that has.
Well, it's hard to find. It's not in the middle of a metropolitan area.
And it's
so-
also, based on some archaic rules that the Thruway
Right.
Authority
That's what I was
has in
gonna
terms
say,
of how many
that
miles you need to be from a Thruway exit in order to have a sign or not have a sign. So, there's some challenges there. I think the reality is that, one of the things that I'm kind of struck by in the idea of, when we compare ourselves to, the whole premise of a question, is Rochester ever going to be a tourism mecca? You're kind of asking a question, is Rochester going to be a Chicago or a New York or a Los Angeles or something like that? And the reality is that it isn't. I think what's necessary is a hook to hang Rochester on.
But how about an Austin, or how about a Santa Fe?
And
or-
that's I think the possibility that exists. So if there's if Austin is a music city or Memphis is a music city, then Rochester is the arts and culture city. And to that end, actually the four of us who coincidentally happen to be sitting at the same table are part of an effort that everybody in this community is going to see in the coming year or two, that's going to really seek to build a common brand for Rochester's arts and culture offering. The Ad Council has a program. We do public service campaigns for collaboratives of nonprofit organizations, and with the Arts and Culture Coalition, we're doing a campaign that the city is a partner in, and the Visitors Association is involved in, and all the major any cultural institution that wants to be part of is welcome to be part of as well, in which we're going to really seek first to raise the awareness within the local community of just how rich the arts and culture offering is, because I think all research we can learn something from all research. I think this research it's not deemed to be a projectable sample of the greater Rochester community. I would guess that we are oversampling those people who know arts and culture and are familiar with the offering in this particular survey. So I think there's a lot of work to be done with that locally, because it all comes back to if something isn't believed internally, whether it's an organization or a community, it's not going to be believed outside of that organization.
One of the things we can do with the survey, and it actually did go out to several groups, but primarily a couple, and I think it probably does skew professional. I can leave it up, and we can tell everybody in Rochester about the survey, and we can just let it keep on conjunculating and see if the numbers don't change once we get broader demographics and all that.
I'm not sure what conjunculating
That's a
means,
great
but
word.
I just wanted to use that word, conjunculate. You won't find it in the dictionary.
It's worth waiting for that.